Welcome back to Who Cares About the SAT? I'm Megan Dorsey. Over the last 3 lessons, you've gotten a chance to equip yourself with some great and powerful strategies to improve your SAT score. In this lesson, I want to give you some hints on how to tackle unfamiliar vocabulary. If you spent any time at all looking at the different materials out there for the SAT, you'll understand that you have a lot of different options. They're prep books, tutors, live classes, online programs. There's so many different things. But before you invest your time, effort, and money, you want to know that something's going to work. I can tell you that over the years I've taught thousands of students, and on average, my students improve 100 points per section, or 300 points on their test by completing my program. And that's on average. I've seen some students get more improvement than that. And the main factor, the key thing that I see running through all of my most successful students is effort. They take the effort to complete the lessons. They work through the homework. They ask questions. They study their vocabulary consistently. They put in the effort to learn the material and to apply it. So when they're walking into the test, they are ready and they love their results. So instead of asking, is there a guarantee? What I should ask you is, can you guarantee you're going to put in the effort? That's what really makes the difference. Are you ready to put in the effort? I'm very confident in the SAT Mastermind. So confident that I'll offer a money-back guarantee. Let's jump into some strategies you can use on reading. I want to stop for a minute and remind you, 50% of your reading score is based on your knowledge of vocabulary. The more words you know, the more questions you can get right. And so you've already got some vocabulary words you can get started with, but you know that the SAT expects students to come to the test with a college-bound vocabulary. This is where your knowledge of words is going to help you get more questions right. But no matter how many words you've studied, it's likely that at some point on the SAT, you're going to encounter some words that are unfamiliar. I want to give you some strategies using things you already know to decode these unfamiliar words. Check it out. Okay, every now and again there's this word you don't know, and you're forced to guess. Yes, there's an appropriate time to do it. Sometimes you have to, and I want you to recognize when you're guessing. In other words, when you start saying things like, well, it looks like, or it sounds like, or I think I heard that and it might mean, or I just don't like the way it looks, acknowledge that what you're doing is making a guess. Today what I want to talk about is making educated guesses. If you know the word, that's obviously the best. But the next best step beneath that is to make an educated guess. And that's better than a blind or random guess. You often know a whole lot more about words than you think you do. Let's start off with, if I see a word like atypical. You've learned in school that this prefix a means not. So I have the word here, atypical, not typical. And I can look at other examples, amoral, not moral, asexual, not sexual. There are a lot of examples of things where I could use this. So if you happen upon an unfamiliar word, ask yourself, are there prefixes or suffixes that can help you decode part of what's going on? And here's what I want to remind you. It's a great tool, but it's still a guess. Not every word that begins with A is not. Here's a great example. Yes, it's still apple. It doesn't mean without a P. It's just apple. And sometimes when you guess, you're going to get it right. And sometimes when you guess, you're going to get it wrong. Another great thing you could use as a tool to decode some of these unfamiliar vocabulary words is a knowledge of Greek and Latin roots. You might be scratching your head saying, Megan, excuse me, I'm not taking Greek or Latin. My grandfather still talks about how he can't believe how kids these days don't have to take Greek and Latin in school. And I remind him, Granddad, I didn't have to take that either. Think about the language you've been taking. Most students are taking, should be taking, 3, maybe 4 years of foreign language in school. If you're one of the fortunate people who has taken a language that comes from, often the Latin, French, Spanish, Italian, you're going to have some built-in knowledge of those root words. If you're taking German, that'll help with some things, but it's not going to help with this lesson here. Other languages, again, great information to have, great resource, but not going to help you with the root words. I'm sorry. Let me give an example. Let's take the word friend. I took high school French. And in French, friend was ami. I live in Texas. I'm trying to study Spanish. And I know that in Spanish, friend is amigo. Are we starting to notice the similarity? AMI. AMI. Think back to your vocabulary list. Amity, friendship. Amiable, friendly. Oh, we've just cracked the code on how to figure out the friendly words. Let's take another example. Bad. In French, mal. In Spanish, I think it's about the same. So here we have our bad or mal words. Let's think about some of the things we've seen. Malice. Malignant. I'm not promising I can spell these right. Malicious. You know what? The name of the evil queen in Sleeping Beauty. These Disney people know their roots. Maleficent. And I probably misspelled it too. But you can see malfactor, malfeasance, mal, everything is bad. On the opposite side of that, maybe we've got some good words. Bon. And high school French is paying off. Bien. We see a lot in Spanish, bueno. And Italian comes in very handy here with bene. Notice the beginnings of these, and the bene is really easy to spot. Benefit, benefactor, benign, benevolent. If you think about it, your knowledge of foreign language can help you get into these root words even if you haven't been taking Latin. So think about it for a second, and as you go to guess about a word, look at it. Is there something that looks familiar, sounds familiar? Maybe it looks and sounds familiar because there's some pieces of it, prefixes, suffixes, or root words, that are familiar to you. And here's where I remind you, but when you do this, you're still making a guess. I apologize, and here's where you know that I have not finished my Rosetta Stone Spanish. If you look at today's handout, on the first page, bottom of that last paragraph, Spanish word embarazada. Not great pronunciation on my part. To me, it looks like embarrassed. It sounds like embarrassed. It's not embarrassed. It's pregnant. So sometimes we see words and man, they look like, they sound like, I just could have sworn that was going to be the same word, and it's not. So it's a great tool, but I remind you again, it's still guessing. An educated guess is far better though than a random guess. Wasn't that cool? Isn't it great to have that type of strategy for reading? Over these 4 videos, you've gotten some great strategies that you can put into place right now to improve your score. But what if you had more than 4 lessons? What if you had an entire program that walked you through step by step, showing you the content and exactly what you needed to do to prepare for the SAT? I'd like to invite you to register for the SAT Mastermind. I've got 3 different membership levels designed to fit different study goals. I'm so passionate about this because I've really seen over the years with the thousands of students I've worked with what a difference improved SAT scores can make. Whether it's the pressure's off and you know what to study, you can go into the test with a lower sense of stress and you can really make a difference, to those tangible, life-changing things. The offer of admission that wouldn't have been there before, the scholarship options, the opportunity to apply to some schools that before were out of reach. Your SAT score can have a huge impact. And I want the opportunity to share that transformation with you. If you've enjoyed these videos, tell your friends, and I would love to see you in class. Once again, I'm Megan, and I'll see you after you register.